Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today we bring you the story of one of Hollywood's most remarkable talents. A man who, despite standing just over 5 feet tall, casts a shadow larger than life. A man whose intensity, humor, and authenticity made him unforgettable on screen. A man who could make you laugh in one scene, terrify you in the next, and then break your heart with his vulnerability. This is the story of Joseph Frank Pesci, known to the world as Joe Pesci. Stay with us until the end, because this is not just the story of an actor, but of a man whose journey is as unique and powerful as the characters he played. Joe Pesci was born on February 9, 1943, in Newark, New Jersey. The son of working-class Italian-American parents, Joe's father was a forklift driver and bartender, and his mother worked part-time in a barber shop. They weren't wealthy, but they believed in hard work, community, and family. And within that family, Joe learned early what it meant to fight, to survive, and to stand tall, no matter how small you might seem to others. From an early age, Joe showed signs of being a performer. By the time he was 5 years old, he was already appearing in plays, making people laugh, and stealing attention with his energy. He loved music, he loved comedy, and he loved acting. While most kids were still figuring out who they were, Joe Pesci already knew that his future belonged on stage. In his teens, Joe pursued music passionately. He played guitar in several bands and even recorded with friends who would later go on to become world-famous musicians. One of those friends was Frankie Valli, and Pesci played a small, but important role in helping bring together the original members of the Four Seasons. Imagine that, a teenage Joe Pesci shaping the beginnings of one of the most legendary bands of all time. But music was only one part of his passion. Acting was calling him, and he couldn't ignore it. Joe started working in television as a child actor, appearing on shows like Star Time Kids. By his 20s, he was balancing jobs, chasing opportunities, and carving out a life in entertainment. But Hollywood wasn't knocking on his door. He faced rejection, obstacles, and moments where many would have quit. Yet Joe was relentless. He wasn't doing this for fame, he was doing it because it was who he was. His first big break came in 1976 when he starred in a low-budget crime film called The Death Collector. The film didn't make headlines, but Pesci's raw, natural performance caught the eye of someone who would change his life forever: Robert De Niro. De Niro saw in Pesci a talent unlike any other, a man who could bring realness, grit, and unpredictability to the screen. De Niro introduced Pesci to Martin Scorsese, and that connection would create some of the greatest films in cinema history. In 1980, Joe Pesci starred alongside De Niro in Raging Bull. His role as Joey LaMotta, the brother and manager of boxer Jake LaMotta, was explosive. He brought both heart and fire to the screen, earning his first Academy Award nomination. In that moment, the world finally recognized what Joe Pesci had always known: he belonged in Hollywood. Over the next decade, Pesci delivered performance after performance that would define an era of filmmaking. In Goodfellas 1990, his portrayal of Tommy DeVito became legendary. With unpredictable energy and chilling brutality, Pesci's character could make you laugh one second and shock you the next. His famous "funny how" scene remains one of the most quoted and studied moments in film history. That role won him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, solidifying his place among the greats. But Joe Pesci wasn't only about gangsters and grit. He also showed his comedic brilliance in films like Home Alone, where he played Harry, one of the bumbling burglars. Millions of children and families around the world laughed as Pesci brought his unique mix of menace and humor to a family classic. His ability to switch between terrifying and hilarious with ease was unmatched. In Casino 1995, Pesci reunited with De Niro and Scorsese to deliver another powerhouse performance, this time as Nicky Santoro. Once again, he balanced charm and brutality, leaving audiences both fascinated and horrified. Each role added to his reputation as one of the most intense and authentic actors of his generation. But unlike many stars who chase the spotlight endlessly, Joe Pesci was different. He valued his privacy, his family, and his peace. In the late 1990s, at the height of his fame, he chose to step away from acting. Hollywood was shocked, but Joe knew what mattered most to him. He wanted to enjoy life away from the cameras, to focus on music again, and to live on his own terms. That decision only added to his mystique. While others burned themselves out in the relentless pursuit of fame, Joe Pesci showed that true power comes from knowing when to walk away. And yet, when he did return, it was always for something meaningful. In 2019, Pesci reunited with Scorsese and De Niro in The Irishman. Decades after Raging Bull, the three legends came together once more, and Pesci delivered a performance that was quieter, but just as powerful. His role as Russell Bufalino showed a different side of him, calm, controlled, but still commanding. It reminded the world that Pesci had never lost his touch. The film earned him yet another Academy Award nomination, proving that even after years away, his talent remained timeless. What makes Joe Pesci's story so emotional is not just his career, but his character. He represents resilience. He represents authenticity. He never tried to be anyone other than himself. He didn't chase trends, he didn't conform to expectations, and he didn't let Hollywood define him. He defined himself. Behind the tough roles and fiery characters was a man who loved music, who loved family, and who valued loyalty above all. His friendship with Robert De Niro, spanning decades, is one of the great stories of Hollywood brotherhood. Together, they created masterpieces, but more importantly, they shared a bond built on respect and trust. Joe Pesci's journey reminds us that greatness isn't always about constant visibility. Sometimes it's about choosing your moments, making them count, and leaving a legacy that speaks louder than words. His films continue to inspire actors, filmmakers, and audiences around the world. His performances remain timeless, his impact undeniable. So, when we look at Joe Pesci, we see more than an actor. We see a man who turned obstacles into opportunities, who stood tall despite his stature, and who gave us characters that will live forever. His story is one of perseverance, talent, and staying true to who you are. This has been the story of Joe Pesci, told here on Nation of Glory. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Together, let's keep celebrating the legends of Hollywood who inspire us, move us, and remind us of the power of storytelling. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.